A machine sitting quietly in almost every kitchen on Earth relies on a mechanism that was designed before the American Civil War. The basic physics of making things cold relies on vapor compression, a system that pushes liquid through a cycle of pressure and evaporation to remove heat. American inventor Jacob Perkins built the first working vapor compression system in 1834. Later, a German professor named Carl von Linde patented a new process for liquefying gases in the late 1800s, according to historical records from TCL. The home refrigerator started to see widespread popularity across the US in 1927. Since then, the outer machinery has changed its shape, but the internal physics remained exactly the same. The core principle has been essentially unchanged for nearly 200 years. This aging technology takes a massive toll on national power grids. Data from market growth reports shows that widely used vapor compression cooling currently contributes to about 2% of China's GDP, but it consumes nearly 20% of its total electricity and generates 7.8% of its carbon emissions. The chemicals used inside these machines also present severe environmental risks. HFC 134A, commonly used in commercial refrigeration, carries a GWP of 1,430, meaning it is 1,430 times more potent than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. According to the EPA, a business-as-usual scenario with increasing HFC emissions would lead to a climate impact of 0.3 to 0.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. The Kigali Amendment mandates developed countries achieve 85% reduction in HFC production by 2036. The transition from compressor refrigerators to magnetic cooling mirrors the historical shift from CRT displays to LCD flat screens. LCD technology was demonstrated in the 1960s, remained a lab-stage project for decades, and eventually hit a cost and performance tipping point that made CRT monitors obsolete within 10 years. It also parallels LED versus incandescent lighting. The underlying physics were known for decades, but manufacturing costs had to collapse entirely before replacing a century-old technology. The magnetocaloric effect was first observed by German physicist Emil Warburg in 1881. Even Thomas Edison explored building a magnetocaloric heat pump during his career. In the 1980s, a team at the Los Alamos National Laboratory used expensive superconducting magnets to achieve a few degrees of refrigeration. At the time, the New York Times noted the technology was more likely to be applied to specialized tasks, such as infrared observation from space, than to home refrigeration. The first near-room temperature magnetic refrigerator was eventually demonstrated at Iowa State's Ames Laboratory in 1997. In March 2014, GE announced its magnetic refrigeration research led to a breakthrough, promising 20% greater energy efficiency with absolutely no refrigerants or compressors. GE Director of Technologies Venkat Venkatakrishnan confidently stated, "This is a big deal. We are on the cusp of the next refrigeration revolution." GE expected to commercialize the unit by 2020. However, records from GE appliances show it took their teams 5 years just to achieve a cooling drop of 2 degrees Fahrenheit. The year 2020 passed without a commercial product. GE then sold its appliance division to Haier in 2016, and the magnetic refrigerator never materialized. In January 2015, Haier showcased a prototype commercial wine cooler employing magnetic refrigeration at the CES show in Las Vegas, aiming to introduce it to the market in 2016. Reports from Cell Press confirmed getting temperatures to 0 degrees Fahrenheit with the current technology would require as much cost and energy as a traditional compressor. The design wasn't good enough for long-term freezing and was never mass-produced for retail. Early overpromising by some companies, particularly regarding gadolinium-based solutions, led to market skepticism. Recently, 2 developments from the Chinese Academy of Sciences solved engineering bottlenecks that competitors could not crack. The first breakthrough occurred in May 2024 at the Beijing National Laboratory for Condensed Matter Physics, located within the Institute of Physics. Researchers Yuan Lin, Jing Wang, Wei Dai, Fengxia Hu, and Baojun Shen published their findings in PubMed Central. They proposed a new hybrid magnetic regenerator, HMR, composed of multiple solid-state high thermal conductivity materials and magnetocaloric materials. Unlike traditional designs, both material types participate in the regeneration process, and critically, no fluid is needed at all. The common use of heat transfer fluid in conventional magnetic refrigerators made only partial materials contribute to the regeneration process, producing large regeneration loss and greatly limiting efficiency at high frequencies. The 2024 Chinese team removed the fluid entirely. The full solid-state design overcomes the frequency limitations set by fluid in traditional magnetocaloric refrigerators, significantly improving working frequency and cooling power. The system achieved a maximum temperature span of 26 K, a dramatically large cooling power of 8.3 kilowatts per kilogram, and a maximum ideal exergy efficiency of 54.2% at a working frequency of 10 Hz, according to Science Direct. The second breakthrough was published in February 2026 by the Institute of Metal Research, led by Professor Li Bing. The team used ammonium thiocyanate salt, a widely used non-toxic industrial material. Its dissolution in water absorbs massive amounts of heat. By applying pressure, the process is reversed, releasing heat. This reversible cycle enables continuous cooling. This approach solves what scientists described as the impossible triangle of caloric materials by delivering low emissions, high cooling power, and efficient heat transfer simultaneously. Unlike traditional solid-state cooling methods where heat struggles to move across material boundaries, their approach integrates the refrigerant and heat transfer medium into a single fluid, facilitating thermal conductivity. At room temperature, the method achieved a temperature drop of nearly 30 degrees Celsius in just 20 seconds. At higher temperatures, the cooling span reached 54 degrees Celsius, far exceeding existing solid-state caloric materials. Simulations from Discovery Alert suggest a cooling capacity of 67 joules per gram and efficiency approaching 77%. Professor Li Bing emphasized the technology's excellent high-temperature performance makes it an ideal candidate for the demanding thermal management requirements of next-generation artificial intelligence computing centers. NVIDIA's latest Blackwell GPUs generate up to 1,000 watts per chip, over 3 times more heat than GPUs from just 7 years ago, while AI rack densities have exploded from 15 kilowatts to 120 to 132 kilowatts per rack. The global data center cooling market was valued at $14.21 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach $34.12 billion by 2033, based on reporting from MLQ. Tech giants, including Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta, are collectively spending over $380 billion on AI infrastructure in 2025. Every single dollar creates derivative demand for thermal management solutions. In 2022, U.S. data centers consumed more than 4% of the nation's electricity, with 40% of that energy spent on cooling alone. A precise solid-state cooling system targeted at specific chips is exactly what the 2024 Beijing team demonstrated. The physical materials required to build these systems face severe geopolitical restrictions. In 1992, Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping famously stated, "The Middle East has oil, China has rare earths." By 2024, China was mining 69% of the world's rare earths and controlling about 90% of processing capacity. Until 2023, China accounted for 99% of global heavy rare earth element processing. In April 2025, China imposed export licensing requirements on 7 rare earth elements, including gadolinium, the key material in magnetocaloric systems. Export volumes dropped roughly 74% within a month. According to Global Policy Watch, European rare earth prices hit 6 times the Chinese domestic price. Competitors attempting to replicate the research face a material supply they can no longer easily source, giving Chinese manufacturers a distinct first-mover advantage in commercialization. To navigate this supply chain restriction, Magnotherm, a German startup, specifically designed its technology around LaFaci lanthanum iron silicon. This compound contains absolutely no heavy rare earth elements, making the company far less exposed to China's export limits. Magnotherm CEO Timur Serman explained their current operational hardware to Ref Industry. Here at our booth, we're showcasing the Polaris beverage cooler, which is essentially our minimum viable product for magnetic refrigeration. It's already certified and operational in local supermarkets around the Frankfurt area in Germany. This demonstrates that our technology is reliable and works effectively in real-world settings, he added. With a special metal that gets hot and cold when magnetized and demagnetized, we have a machine that gives hot and cold water like a chiller, but without refrigerants. Their second-generation Eclipse unit is 15% more energy efficient than a comparable propane system. The company produced 5 units and plans to build 20 more in 2026. Camfridge CEO Neil Wilson told the Cooling Post that potential adopters should be highly cautious of systems based on gadolinium, which, despite being functional demonstrations, lack commercial viability due to their high cost and scaling limitations. According to the International Institute of Refrigeration, gadolinium costs upwards of $300 per kilogram, restricting commercial scalability. Current magnetocaloric systems exhibit significantly higher capital costs, as rare earth materials like gadolinium can cost 10 to 50 times more than traditional refrigerants per unit of cooling capacity. A September 2025 study in Eureka proposed 3D printing to reduce material waste and fabrication costs to make magnetocaloric refrigerators commercially viable. Current transition metal alternatives operate effectively within narrower temperature ranges, typically 250 to 300 K, compared to the wider 250 to 350 K range for gadolinium-based materials. Chemical manufacturer BASF identifies major challenges with material degradation under repeated magnetic cycling, leading to reduced cooling capacity over time. Price premiums for magnetic refrigeration systems over conventional compressor-based units are gradually narrowing from 3 to 5 times the cost in 2020 to an estimated 1.8 to 2.5 times by 2026. The magnetic refrigeration industry is projected to grow from $0.89 billion in 2025 to $10.92 billion by 2035, a CAGR of 28.48%. More than 25 companies are working on magnetic cooling technology. Haier has filed over 60 patents related to magnetocaloric systems since 2020, according to the International Institute of Refrigeration. The Chinese Academy of Sciences listed magnetic refrigeration among China's top 10 scientific advances of 2024, marking rare public recognition. Both the 2024 and 2026 teams are part of a national research institution with state-level funding. The 2024 paper describes itself strictly as a conceptual device. The 2026 breakthrough still requires breakthroughs in engineering rapid and reversible pressure-tuned phase transitions before practical application. The reality is that these machines will not replace your kitchen fridge tomorrow. Can the solid-state design be scaled from a small lab block to a full-size refrigerator without prohibitive cost? Will China's gadolinium export controls strangle Western competitors trying to replicate this research, granting Chinese manufacturers a monopoly? Will the artificial intelligence data center market be the actual first mass-market application? And will that funding eventually trickle down to home appliances? Finally, if a magnetic fridge costs twice as much as a conventional one, will American consumers actually pay for it?